It's time now to take a look at what's been making headlines in the newspapers this week, and to do that we're joined now by Maryam Zahid, who's the founder and director of Afghan Women on the Move. Good morning to you, Maryam. It's great to have you on the program again. We'll start off with this article in the BBC about the situation in Afghanistan there, and you bring a unique perspective to this story because you moved to Australia as a refugee when you were just 20 years old.
Good morning to you guys, and good morning to your listeners. Yes, Afghanistan speaks for itself at the moment. The current situation in Afghanistan has made women like me disappear. They took the education, the hope, the aspiration of 20 years of very much hard work of people like me outside of Afghanistan that found a safe place to give back, and also the women and men that were hoping to be the better version of themselves in the past 20 years. But unfortunately, what has Taliban good peace has brought is worse than a bad war. So I'm very frustrated to see that what's happening there and how much it has affected the diaspora outside of Afghanistan.
Maryam, when it comes to the situation in Afghanistan now, leading up to the Taliban takeover, there's a question of had the Taliban changed? Was the society going to change? Obviously, in some ways, it has gone way back, 20 years in case of women's rights. There are also questions around the economy and how that's functioning and whether people may, in fact, face famine because the system's just fallen apart. What are you hearing there? What are you seeing in reports?
Taliban has no plan or no education in terms of economy or economic progress in Afghanistan. We have seen it in the past 7 months that every day things are going worse. Yesterday, we've been doing some charity work in Afghanistan on the ground to help just with food. And the number of people that were literally begging on the streets to what we have just seen from the volunteers that we have, it speaks the volume that Afghanistan is going to the worst of its history, I believe, to what I know and what I have experienced watching Afghanistan from outside. And Taliban has no plan for betterment of Afghanistan, especially when there is a gender conflict in Afghanistan, when the half of population is taken away and put them in the dark space to not to be visible and not to be part of the country. What do you expect a country to function with? Just Taliban be in those buildings with their bodyguards, and that's pretty much they do, and they just speak now on the Twitter. That's all we see from them. Fake promises that they have done in the past 7 months. Nothing has been done, and that's very frustrating. And I am numb. I remember when at the beginning, with all the interviews, all the work that I've been doing, we were very emotional, we were very shocked. But at the same time, we thought, okay, we'll see what happens. But at the moment, the disaster make everybody outside of Afghanistan and also in Afghanistan numb. And that's very scary because psychologically we are damaged. In Afghanistan, people are not dying just because of bombing and suicides. Also, they're dying because of hunger, psychological and emotional damage. And what else we expect to happen to the people of Afghanistan to make some realistic approach to tackle this issue and hopefully get rid of Taliban.
It must be so challenging for you and the people that you work with, Maryam, to watch this from afar. But you're also looking at this ABC article about the hundreds of thousands of new citizens that are going to be voting in the upcoming election and the support that's in place and the support that's not there to help them in that process.
That's a good way of looking at the countries that we have found a safe space without being scared of getting killed, humiliated, or beaten just because we're coming from a different country, or especially with women. That's what we have experienced as a citizen, as a residents of our own countries when we were back home. So to begin with, every citizen must vote. And for the new citizens that they become of their second home, it is a must, but they must also know that what they are voting for and why. They must know their candidates. They must not assuming, because there is a perception from multicultural communities, because back home they were very scared of their politicians and also from the police officers, and these are the facts. So when they come to contemporary countries and like Australia, the politicians may not look that scary. They're quite approachable, especially before elections. So they get quite emotionally attached to their election and the people, the politician that they talk to. But at the same time, the importance of their vote counts and matters. So they must not just vote because they don't want to get fined, or they shouldn't get fined. They must know why they are doing it. But there's a huge lack in terms of understanding of how to vote and the process of voting. The language barrier plays a big role. The cultural perspectives on voting as well. There's a huge gap in the system on how the new citizen vote and why.
Maryam Zahid, so good to talk to you this morning. Thanks for talking us through the papers today.
Thank you.